So you are a research professor at the École Française, the Extreme Orient. And your research focus is on South Asia, Southeast Asia, archaeology, history of religions, epigraphy, etc. So you have like a wide array of experience and expertise in these topics. Um, I think like I have so much to like actually like cover, ask you, but maybe just to like start with you, could you kind of like give some details on like how did you even get into like this decision of like, okay, I'm gonna like start studying about ancient India. So when did this happen? Like how many years have you been pursuing it? So like what's going on?
Wow. So I started, I think, probably something like in 83. Yeah, in 82 or 83, I don't remember exactly. After I got my degree from the French system, we get, I had a I had to make choices, and I started with a very classical background. I studied Greek and Latin, and then I was interested in Asia, and I hesitated between China and India. And as I was already studying Latin and Greek, I thought, okay, let's go for India because then I can start Sanskrit, and it might be quite interesting, let's say. And so I started Sanskrit, and I started to study history of art of India and Southeast Asia, etc., and all what is called the Indianized world. And that's how it started like this. Then I did that. I don't remember exactly, something like for 5 or 6 years. Then I stopped for 2 years because I had to prepare something. You have to find a way to work. So that was not very easy to just to find a work with a job with Indian art and Sanskrit. That was not enough, I would say. And then once I found a job, then I started again studying India. I had this thesis about Mathura. I started in the north of India. It was in Mathura. I studied the beginnings of the cult of Krishna in the area of Mathura. And then later on, I got a job as a researcher, which was a dream of my life, something like this. But I was posted in Tamil Nadu, which is very far from Mathura. And I was first, I would say, and I landed in Tamil Nadu in 1999. I had been previously, but very briefly. And so it was a whole new world, I would say, which was open like this. And it took me a while to get accustomed to this Tamil world, I would say. And then I started to study ancient Tamil as well with some colleagues. And okay, I was posted in Tamil Nadu for 4 years. Then I went back to France. And then since I'm going back, I'm going to India very regularly. And but most of all, I'm going to Tamil Nadu. I'm going to see the inscriptions, the monuments. And for me, it's wonderful because in Tamil Nadu, you have Sanskrit and you have Tamil and you have lots of monuments. And little by little, I started to specialize on this Chola period, but not only. So, and then I studied Pallava art and inscriptions. And then I was interested in these Tamil Brahmi inscriptions because it's a very fascinating topic. I like it very much. And that's all.
That's a really like wonderful, and I'm really glad you kind of like started with studying Sanskrit and how things work in the north, and then you made a shift to like Tamil. And I'm honestly, I'm really glad that the region interested you, the language interested you, and the culture interested you. And also, I think I was born in Pondicherry. And so you probably are very familiar with Pondicherry because I did remember that you actually worked a lot at Pondicherry, right?
Our center in the École Française d'Extrême-Orient we have a big center which is in Pondicherry, and we have a small antenna which is in Pune. But I was posted in Pondicherry because this is a big center. I was the head of this center for some years, and so I'm just coming back from Pondicherry. In fact, I've spent the whole month of February in India, and I was in Kanchipuram, and I was in Chennai, and I was in Pondicherry. But you are born in Pondicherry, and if I maybe it's not proper, but and you, how did you become interested in all this? Okay, you are born in Pondicherry. What's interesting for you? How that's like me of asking people and making these interviews and
First, I was born in Pondicherry, so my grandparents are still there. Actually, and I also like went back to like now I'm in Berlin, but my home is still South India. So I live in Chennai. My parents are in Chennai. My grandparents are in Pondicherry. My parents were born in Pondicherry, so Pondicherry is like a huge part. So even last year when I went back home to Chennai, we visited my grandparents in Pondicherry. I love Pondicherry. Just the integration of that French architecture with that South Indian Tamil temples and all these kind of things. It's such a beautiful, wholesome place also because there's like a lot of good memories and stuff. But besides that, why am I interested? I think in general, I think I've for a very long time. I think always like, you have this innate curiosity about things. You want to learn this and learn that. So I've always been very curious about like not just like ancient India, but also like ancient Egypt, like Greece. So right now I'm actually reading this book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Immortality Key by Brian Murakesu. It's about this place called as Eleusis in ancient Greece, where people like Plato and Socrates, they all would go and take this ancient mystic psychedelic brewery, and they would like get basically have this psychedelic experiences and everything. So I'm kind of always interested in like this ancient archaeology, like all these ancient sciences and all these kind of things. But considering I am Tamil, there is always obviously that innate curiosity of like, because I feel like I know Tamil. I feel like now people are really picking things up or how the history of Tamil and just like how vast the Tamil civilization and culture is. But at the same time, I don't know if you would agree to it, but also I feel like it's very much underrepresented or like it's really suppressed as well. I actually read your paper just like for 2 pages about Krishna's story about Krishna stealing butter. And you had written, yeah, and you had written that yeah, you had mentioned that this story is actually quite popular in the north, like in Hindi speaking belt. It's very popular about like Krishna stealing butter, but it's new, very new to me. When I read this just like yesterday morning, you had written that, but at first this was actually written in Tamil. In South India. I did not know this at all. So even people in Tamil, we are still very clueless about like how just vast our culture is or how much contribution our language has made. A majority of us are completely clueless because politics is involved.
yeah, it's
Right?
complicated.
It's very it complicates things. So I am when I then just give a backstory of like why I want to talk to you. Obviously, when I read this that in the Valley of Kings in Egypt, there are like there are names inscribed by these, I don't know, trade who were they, like traders, normal people, tourists. There were Tamil names, but also Sanskrit names, right? And also like Prakrit names as well. But I think many majority of them were by this guy named Chikkai Koran. He was the one who vandalized the place basically. By and I was like, wow, like first of all, I'm like thinking the Valley of the Kings, how old is the temple? It's like thousands of years old, right? The fact that nobody found that out for thousands of years, and it's like you and Mr. Ingo Strauch, you guys were the first people to like discover a 1,000+ year old temple. Like, hey, there's a Tamil name there. That's was like super shocking. Not just because the Tamil name, we know that Tamil is older. We know Tamil is much, much, much older. But the fact that people they traveled to Egypt. That was a surprising part. But for me personally, even more surprising part is that it's only in 2025, 2026, two researchers spotted that. Two researchers found that while the temple has been there for thousands of years. So how much is still hidden? How much is still unknown, right?
This we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the work of the researchers. We are looking for the things, and we sometimes we find,
Yeah.
but we have to look for it. And certainly, you have more to discover. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
And you see, also when you were speaking about this Krishna stealing the butter, I mean, it was not known. You have to look for it. You have to do your researcher's job, and then when you study little by little, it does not come like this usually. But for this Valley of the Kings, I have to say that it's more something like this. Because once Ingo was the first to see one Tamil inscription, and I don't know if you have already spoken with Ingo or not.
So I actually did not get an answer from him.
Okay. So because it's a nice story. I like the story. So I was in Pondicherry. I was in Pondicherry at that time first, and then I received a picture, a message, and a picture by Ingo, and that was an inscription, and he was just asking, Charlotte, do you think this could be a Tamil Brahmi inscription? And okay, I looked at it, and I was pretty busy. I had something else to do, etc. So took me something like several days to answer and say, hey, Charlotte, please, can you answer? Do you think this could be a Tamil inscription? So, okay, let's have a look at it. And it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy to see them, to decipher them. And I had a look and said, yes, definitely. This most probably something like very plausibly, this is a Tamil inscription. Then he wrote back, yes, but this is in the Valley of the Kings because I was on holidays and I was visiting this tomb and I've seen this inscription. And Ingo is a very learned Indologist and he is a specialist of graffitis. And he is a very good specialist of Sanskrit, Prakrit, etc. And he wrote to me, I've seen this inscription. I thought it was an Indian inscription, but in the same time, I was unable to decipher it. I was unable to read it. That's why I had this idea. So this could be a Tamil inscription. And that was a Tamil inscription. So we said, okay, let's go and check if you have other inscriptions as well. And that was one of the Chige Kotran inscriptions. And but first, then we had to we prepared, and there is a whole catalog of the graffitis in the Valley of the Kings. And this catalog, this study and catalog, has been published in 1926. I think it's 26. I try to remember. Let's say at the beginning of the 20th century, by a French one, a French Egyptologist, who is called Jules Bayet. And Jules Bayet was in charge of looking at all the graffitis in this Valley of the Kings. And this is a huge work because you have thousands of graffitis. You have more than 2,000 graffitis, which are being spread in several tombs, but not all of them, because not all of the tombs were inscribed with graffitis. Only some of them, which are already open in antiquity, because these tombs were very often something like just after they have buried the pharaohs, people were coming to steal the things, and so some of these tombs were already open in antiquity and were visited. There were already something like tourist spots for all the Mediterranean world, and so people were flocking into these tombs already, and they were leaving their names, some very classical graffitis, something like I came here, I have seen, this is wonderful, this is very beautiful, or just a name, sometimes little poems in Greek. Most of the graffitis are in Greek, but you have some other languages, like you have later like graffitis also in Arabic, and also some Western, some foreigners also later on. And so first we had a look at this publication by Jules Bayet, because Jules Bayet was he did his job very carefully, and so he published pictures, photos, and he published eye copies of different sections of all the sections after section of the walls of the tombs with eye copies of all the graffitis to situate them. And then these are the visual parts of his book, but in the same time, he published his readings of this graffiti and little comments, some comments about the graffitis. And from time to time, there are inscriptions that he was unable to read. And then he says, but he had the idea that he was unable to read this, but this was, he calls them Asianic, exotic Asianic inscription. Asianic is a very strange word that you won't find in a French dictionary. So he coined a new word for describing these inscriptions. And so we had a careful, we looked at all the books, and each time there was an Asianic or an exotic inscription or just an inscription he was unable to read. We checked, we prepared, and then we went to this Valley of the Kings. And then we found, yes, many more Indian graffitis, and we did not expect that at all. And the first day we went to the Valley of the King was the best one, because we just entered the tomb number 1. And this is the tomb number 1 because this is the first one that you see on that you can go and see on your right when you enter the Valley of the Kings. And this was a tomb which was open in antiquity and probably very visited. And this is the one where you have the many Indian graffiti. And so we discovered this Sanskrit inscription as well, which was not reported, which was not understood, not even copied. There was no eye copies of this Sanskrit inscription by Jules Baillet. And in this, the tomb number 1, you have this 2 Chigai Kotran inscription. You have other Tamil inscriptions. You have the Sanskrit inscription. And you have also, and you have 3 scripts, because you also have an inscription in Kharoshthi and in Gandhari language, which is a certain type of Prakrit, which is practiced only in the northwestern part, near Central Asia of India. And then we were very excited because it, so many inscriptions and not reported at all. Nobody has seen them. And we found 4 different script and languages. This is wonderful. Okay, we found also in the other tombs as well, but not as many as in this first tomb. We were a little disappointed. But the last tomb, the one where Chigai Kotran again, this guy has left an inscription, was also very fascinating. This is tomb number 14. Because in this tomb, you don't have any graffiti, but the one by Chigai Kotran, which is just above the entrance of the tomb. So probably the tomb was not open in antiquity. So that's why nobody has left any graffiti inside. But it was amazing to see that this Chigai Kotran has left his name. Something like, not everywhere, but really, he was very, he wanted everybody to know that, yes, come here, and it was the Chigai Kotran, etc. So yes, the first and the last one were the most fascinating for us. Yeah, it was.
Also, I think one of I don't know if it's in the first tome or like in the 4th tome. Probably it's in the 4th tome, where he has written his name somewhere like 16 feet or 20 feet like above him in a ceiling. How do we know how did he reach there? How was he able to reach there? Was it a ladder? Like what's the theory?
At the moment, we have no theory. For us, it was impossible to go as high as this, because the Egyptians did not want us to use ladder. And so we had to take the picture with a very long perch, which was something like 6 meters high. And there was a very nice guy, a photographer, accompanying us, and he was a very tall guy also, because I'm quite short, so I wouldn't for me. And it was very, and this is also amazing because this graffiti is very difficult to see when you are It's a small graffiti. It's under an arm, and you can't see it. You have to take a picture and then you zoom on the picture and then you see it. So, and in this tomb, you also have graffitis which are. This is not the only graffiti which is as high as this. You have other in Greek, etc., but not so many. But you have other ones, a few. But you also have some which are on a more normal level. So why and how? Maybe there was a short period of time during which this tomb was closed or has been buried, and he was just, he knew that this was the entrance of the tomb, but the entrance has been blocked, and then he was able to climb up above the entrance because it was blocked, something like this. And because with the tomb number 14, you see that anyway, when he was unable to go inside, he was leaving something at the very entrance of a tomb. So maybe this tomb was blocked at that time and it was reopened later on or something like this. And there was something in front of this entrance above which it could climb, something like this. But I'm not sure.
Okay. Can I ask when did this happen? So when did Ingo Strauch contact you? Like when did you guys go to Egypt? Like when was this?
So 126. So we went. I think it was in 20. I don't remember. It was in 23 and 24, maybe 24. Okay, this I can check and tell you later on. If you
Okay, okay. But I mean, anyway, 25 or 24 is not like very long back. It's basically still like, like, yeah, it's been like a year or something. I have some follow-up questions here. First of all, like, what is the significance of the Valley of the Kings? Like, could you say, like, what is that place about? Like, do we know, like, how many years old is it in Egypt?
Ooh, uh, I think the first tombs were 1,000, more than 1,000, 1,200 years back or something like this. I'm not an Egyptologist, so I don't know the value of the kings so well. Maybe more. Yeah, but this is what is called the new dynasty. So these are not the oldest, the earliest tombs in Egypt. But of course, as everything in Egypt is still very old, very ancient.
I think if I'm not wrong, I think it's something around like 16th or 18th century, like dynasty basically of Egyptian kings.
Yes, but when was this dynasty? The 18th dynasty? Is it 1,200 or something like this?
Something around close to 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very ancient.
Yeah, okay.
Already more than 1,000 years, probably closer to 2,000 years when these Indian people they came.
Yeah, okay.
Already done.
Yeah. And the thing is that, of course, it's not only like someone, it's amazing. Someone named Chike Koran went from Tamil Nadu to travel there for whatever reason. But it's also from places like Gujarat as well, right? Like Sanskrit, like someone who spoke Sanskrit, Prakrit, they were also like able to like traveling there. So which means there were like trade routes. They were like people from other parts of the Indian subcontinent as well, like traveling to Egypt. Is there any theory of like who were these people? Like why were they there? What were they doing there? Any theories that you've had so far?
So we have several theories. So first, this Chigay and we call them Tamil graffiti because this is what is called Tamil. But they could as well, Tamilagam. I mean, in ancient time, Tamil, for what we know about Tamil, it was most probably spoken, written, practiced in the whole of the tip of the peninsula and the Indian peninsula. So that could have come from what is from the today Tamil Nadu, but also from the Kerala. And who knows, maybe from the southern part of Karnataka, for instance. something like this, just to be sure. Then you have also, yes, as you get this Karachi inscription, what is very so. The first thing, the first hypothesis is that they were involved in trade, of course, and this is also because in the site of Berenike, which is a port on the Red Sea, a seaport on the Red Sea. We know that there were Tamil merchants as well. There was an Indian community, and people from the south of India were also part of this community. You find things which are coming from the southern part of India, and you also get Tamil inscriptions there. So plausibly they came through this Berenike, through this Red Sea port, and then they had to go to the Nile with their goods, because you are in the Red Sea and you cross the desert and you go to the Nile, to what is today Luxor, and was Coptos, known as Coptos at this time. And from Coptos, again with boat, the goods were going to the Mediterranean Sea, to the mouth of the Nile, and then to the Mediterranean Sea, and they were continuing their route to the Roman Empire, for instance. Roman Empire at the time when these Indian people, they came, most probably. So the first thing is you think about trade. The second thing is that the names of these Indian people, and what the few things you can think about them, they are not like classical traders, or they are not what we would imagine, what we would fancy as traders. Because in the Karachi inscription, you have a Kshatriya name. In the Sanskrit inscription, the one responsible for the inscription, he says that he is a duta, he is an envoy, kind of ambassador of a Kshatraya king. And Chigay Kotran in itself is not a name that you would expect for a trader. Then you can have several hypotheses. The first one is that what we thought were people involved in trade, what we thought were traders, were not what we imagine. Something like a kshatriya, one, or when you have another type of status, you could as well be a trader. So you could be a Vaishya, of course, but you could be a trader even if you were a kshatriya, or to say it in another way, kshatriyas were involved in trade as well, something like this. This is a possibility, which is very interesting, because that means that you should not imagine that these castes were so well marked, so well defined in ancient India. The second thing, of course, is that especially for the south of India, you don't have any mention of caste at this time. In the Tamil Brahmi inscription, you don't have any mention of caste, etc., etc. So maybe there were no classical caste or something like this, or the social status were different, or the society was functioning in different ways, which are very difficult to perceive or to think, just because we don't have enough documentation, something like this.
Right.
And you can think about these people as kind of military people, soldiers, who are accompanying the merchant, because of course the trade was very risky at that time, and the traders were never traveling alone. They were always traveling with a kind of soldiers or military men, etc. You probably have heard about the guilds. They have their own armies. The traders, they were very organized. They have their own armies. They were just like small political units. So these people could as well have been something like soldiers, military men accompanying the traders. And so they would have had the time when the traders were busy trading in the Coptos and Berenike, to visit once they have reached their goal of the city. So maybe they had some free time and they were visiting, they had the time to visit. This is possible. The thing is also when you have somebody in the Sanskrit inscription, the one saying that I am an envoy, I'm a duta of a certain king. It could also be a claim, something to assert his authority amongst the traders who were in Egypt. Something like he may not have been an official duta of any king. Because, for instance, if you compare with more modern data, in the Indian, in the colonial, during the colonial period, the traders, the Western traders who were involved in trade with Asia, China, India, etc., the East Indian Company, East India Company, some of them sometimes they were just pretending that they were envoys, that they were official envoys of this or that king, which was not true at all. But that gives them some more prominence, some more authority, legitimacy for.
Also, it's like a protection, probably just to like protect themselves, right?
Yes. No. So this is also possible, but
Okay.
I'm not sure we will ever know.
Yeah, right. Like where is this research at this point? So now that we have found that there are some Tamil inscriptions, names written on like the value of the kings. So where is the research at this point? Like, have you guys like taken a step back saying, hey, okay, we found this, now we publish our research? Or do you see something like happening somewhere down the line, like some space for more research into like South India or like, India's like that continents and the role that trade had with Egypt, or like who are these people? Do you see any future for this research, or like where is it at this point?
So first we are supposed to publish it because this is the first thing, because then once you are read, so people they can say something, you can exchange with your colleagues, with other people, so it's better. So the first thing is to write a little book and to publish it, we hope this year, with in India, of course. And the idea is also to wait for new discoveries, especially in Berenike, where you have an international archaeological team busy with excavating this site for the past 30 years. But every year they discover something new. Something like there is always something new also with India, something like every year. So I cannot speak about it, but they found something very interesting last year and they will publish it. So this is the first thing. The second one is that we'd like to explore a site which is in between this Berenike, this Red Sea port, and Luxor Coptos. And there is a site which is a rocky site, which is full of graffiti, which was a site where usually the traders were stopping on their way. And it's full of graffiti. So never any Indian graffiti has been reported from this site, and it's very difficult to get access to it because at the moment it's a military zone in Egypt and it's closed. We have already tried to go twice and it was impossible. So we will apply and try to get access because it's Egypt is a country where you have to apply, of course, for getting permission to go to see the sites, to publish, etc. And it takes a lot of time. Last time it took us 1 year and a half, nearly 1 year and a half to get any permission to publish anything.
Yeah,
To go to take the pictures and to publish.
right.
After the discovery, the time was spent, in fact, in trying to get the permissions. So we have again, and as it is in a military zone, okay, I hope we get it. Let's try. And we cannot be sure that we will find Indian graffiti. We have already checked several other sites because many sites in Egypt are full of graffitis. So we have checked a certain amount of sites already, and we did not find any, including in Luxor itself, which is also full of graffitis.
Yeah.
You have temples, you have other sites, you have many sites in Luxor. It's a very rich city. We did not find any Indian graffiti elsewhere at the moment. You just have Berenike and this Valley of the Kings.
Yeah. Charlotte, I think it's like amazing. Like there is a touch of these ancient Indian people in places like Greece or Egypt, and these discoveries are like so cool. But I think still a massive amount of history is still within India, right? It is still contained within that particular land, and there is still so much like unexplored, so much like still suppressed, and everything. I don't know, like just like shifting the dialogue a little bit. Have you heard, or like have you probably must have like heard about this place called as Keeladi in Madurai? Where they just like I think like close to a decade ago, they actually had this big did this excavation, and they found that there was actually a civilization that was like almost like an urbanized civilization. They were like making things. They were even like trading with their neighboring places like across over beyond India, and they were also now it's also said like they were the earliest Iron Age people. And this itself, this information which is India, like it is still not completely like out. A lot of information is suppressed. For like, for example, one of the people, I think one of the lead researchers who was like so much ingrained in this particular topic and in his research, I think like after 3 years or 5 years, he was basically removed, saying, "Hey, you can stop the research there." Like what? Like such a big, huge, important discovery. Like because this could really change. Because when we think about like Iron Age, we think of Europe, right? Like we think of like Greece or like Turkey, somewhere in the Middle East. But how many of us like really know, wait, like there was a place somewhere in South India, in Tamil Nadu, where these speaking civilization, they were so urbanized, they were even like developing iron. And this changes a lot in how we understand Indian history or even world history. Basically, so have you been there? Have you taken time to like explore, sorry, explore that region?
So I didn't have the time to I've been to Kiladi, but only twice and very briefly. And I did not have the time to really to really make any research. And also because it's also an area which is not exactly restricted, but I think it's for me it's an archaeological site which has to be left to Indian people for them to look for it, to search for it, and you have many uh, uh, very famous and skilled Indian researchers, and they know more than me, much more, and they are the specialists of these sites. And as you know, you have many debates about Keladi, and maybe not exactly about Kiladi itself, but about the discoveries or the way you can interpret the discoveries which were made in Kiladi, at Kiladi. So I think it's this is a Tamil side, an Indian side, and it's I'm looking, I'm reading the reports, and I'm looking at what is going on in Kiladi, something like this. But I will not go and make any research myself in Kiladi, and anywhere that would be impossible for me. That would not be possible for me to do any research in Kiladi. But I'm very I like it. It's fascinating, and I hope it can yes change the way Tamil Nadu is seen by the rest of the world.
Yeah, right.
But regarding what you have said about Iron Age, something like for me, uh, maybe I have a kind, maybe you would say maybe a too broad perspective, but I think each of us researchers, we are looking in our little field, in our specialized field, on our site and what's going on, and we are very excited when we think that this is earlier than the other one, this is the original place, etc., etc. But I think it's better to see. For me, I prefer to see it in a broader perspective, something like for me, I don't think that Iron Age has started somewhere in the planet and from one point was spread in the other parts of this little planet. I I think it was done globally, something,
Right.
and I think it's nice to know the dating. I think it's we have to look for it. We have to fight for our fields, but I'm not one with always
came
looking for
first?
yeah,
Right, exactly. Me too, actually. Like, I am not all about like, okay, what is like the oldest language? What is like the oldest thing? We don't know. We have like absolutely terrible information of like what happened in our past or like a complete history or something. I mean, there was like a temple that it's like 2000 years old or something, and only last year, two researchers who traveled to Egypt found that, hey, there is like some language there. I am also like completely I'm not going to use the word opposed, but I feel like it's you're not really going to make any significant progress, or you're not going to make any genuine progress if your ideology is just about proving, okay, we came first.
yeah.
If that is your ideology, you are in fact doing a lot of injustice. Like, for example, I think like for example, like Egypt, right? They say it's what like it's like 4000 years old or something like that. But a lot of things about like Egypt, I am a big follower of like Graham Hancock. Actually,
Mhm.
a lot of his the research around the pyramids are like totally like off. Like they're just like putting these numbers, this is 2000 years old, 4000 years old. We really do not have like a hardcore idea of like how old the pyramids are. It could be like older than that. The Sphinx could be old. Even Indian temples, for example, the temples that we have like in south or like in the north, they're just like dating it. But how accurately do you know that it was built? Like what instrument or technology it was built? Because most of the Indian temples, you can't tell me they were made with chisel and hammer. Like, what? Are you kidding? Like, give a chisel and hammer today and ask someone to build a temple. It's not like so. There is still like a there's so much of it is like a mystery. Like I'm like, and also I think you probably are aware, like in Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, they
Mm,
found out, which now they say that it's like close to like 10,000 years old, which is
yeah.
somewhere close to the end of the last ice age. What language did they speak? Were they good at with iron? We don't know. So
Mm,
I'm completely on board like with what you're saying as well. I think we have to like keep an open mind on like, hey, okay, like we found this in Killarney. Okay, let's keep exploring. Then somewhere in some other part of the world, they will find, hey, there is a different carbon dating that's much more older than Killarney. It's all possible, like in my opinion as well. I also don't like to engage in this politics of who came first.
mm.
What do you mean who came first? We don't know who came first. Like, yeah.
But that's always you try to find a date, try to find a dating, and this is already very controversial, and
Yeah.
it's so difficult to give a date, even for these Indian inscriptions. We are it's just paleography, and paleography is not reliable at all.
Mm, mm,
Okay, the state of the language, okay, but with very few words, it's not that easy. And even if you compare with the Tamil Brahmi inscriptions, of course, you compare with the Tamil Brahmi inscriptions in India itself, but the corpus is very small, it's very restricted. You have something like a little more than 80 inscriptions on stone in Tamil. So, okay.
mm.
And the chronology of this Tamil inscription is debated, let's say. So it's difficult to give a date.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just you try to give a
Yeah,
get dates,
yeah.
but then yes.
I mean, I think this is all like part of filling the knowledge gap, right? You discovered something, you just like move on to the next thing, and then you learn to connect the dots with that, and you learn something about maybe I don't know 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, we might come across this name Chikai Koran in some text or something. We have like no like idea about it. I think that is how things are supposed to like. The fact that these things are supposed to be exciting, like globally, it's supposed to be like exciting, and it's supposed to be like welcome, but it's the politics of it, like the north south,
Mm.
this language, that language, this is superior, that is superior. Like, what do you mean? You and I, we are not the founders of this language. Where does this pride lie? I mean, I understand being proud, but this whole thing of like, I don't believe in like putting down another language or putting down another place in order to like, feel superior about my
Mm.
like I don't feel insecure about my language in such a way where I feel like I have to put another language down. when you traveled, when you and Mr. Ingo Strauch traveled in India because of this research and everything, or I think you were prior to this as well, you've traveled a lot in Pondicherry, in South India, North India, etc. Do you kind of have that feeling? Did you get that sense of like, oh wow, like how much political these things are? Like, have you ever gotten that feeling?
Oh, yes, yes, of course. But probably I realized it or knew it more than Ingo, because Ingo is working in the north in Pakistan, usually in Pakistan, in the northern part of India and in Pakistan. So yeah, he's rather familiar with Pakistan. So for the south, he did not realize, I think, at first how it's I agree with you. It's very political, but in the same way, I try just to be positive. I'm saying like it's also for me. We just gave this when we gave this conference in Chennai. I find it's also very touching to see how much Tamil people are attached to their language. So I try to take it not uh, so much as a political issue, which it is definitely, but I'm not an Indian, I'm not Tamilian, so for me it's different. And something like I find it very touching to see how much people are, yes, they have a kind of uh, affective relationship with their language, and I like it.
Yeah.
But of course, this is very, of course, it is terribly political.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years from now, I will know a little more about it. It's coming. It takes a lot of time to deeply understand why it is so political, because something like it is not. Uh,
I can tell you like maybe like a why. So I completely like agree with you as well. Like I think Tamil people have like uh, this very deep, intimate relationship or connection with the language, and I think that's beautiful. Actually, they really Tamil people really love the language. Like we love our songs, our music, just how we sound when we speak to our friends. Family. That is something so. It's something so emotional. Just be able to speak to that. Yeah, it's kind of like being able to speak a language. And I think also one of the reasons why this sense of, I think the attachment to the language, it kind of heightened, it increased a lot over the last few decades, is because I think the sense of protection kind of like came over. Like we kind of had this feeling like, oh, we now have to like protect our language. The reason is because I think, like as you know, a big part of like the north, it's mostly like Hindi speaking, right? So when Hindi became like a dominant languages, because India used to have like so many other languages, like just like the way how when you go down south in Kerala, they speak a different language. In Andhra, they speak a different language. In Tamil Nadu, they speak a different language. Likewise, if you go up north as well, they were speaking like so many different languages. But when Hindi came into power, a lot of those languages like just kind of like took a dump. Like most of it was like forgotten, most of it was like it's not like being spoken anymore, because now if you want to like get a job or if you want to do anything, Hindi becomes like the main language. Your politicians communicate with you in Hindi. So a lot of their ancient languages up in the north that kind of like got like taken out. It kind of like it's like almost like a forgotten language. So I think with this knowledge then comes that, oh, we have to like protect our language. And also considering, I think we also have a bit of understanding of like just like how ancient Tamil language is, like with the Sangam literature. And we also take like a lot of pride in the dynasties like the Pandya, Chola. And also we have a lot of temples, by the way, right? Like in if you go to Tamil Nadu, like I've not been to a lot of places in Tamil Nadu, but just in Chennai, oh my God, like the temples are just like so breathtaking, and it kind of gives us there's a spiritual connection when you see those temples and those languages that are inscribed in the walls and everything. There's almost like a spiritual connection. So I think the love for the language, there is a general love, but also the love is much more powerful and heightened because we kind of have the sense of like we really want to protect it. And the politics is not even from somewhere else. The politics is not even from an English speaking country or somewhere like from the west or anything. It's like within it's sad. That's the saddest part. The politics is within, when you are supposed to be a very united, you're supposed to appreciate each other's languages. Tamil should appreciate Hindi. Hindi, you should appreciate Tamil, you should appreciate Sanskrit. We're all part of like a diverse family, and you're supposed to like encourage each other and build each other. But it's politics. That's how like the power games work, right? Like divide and conquer. The more divided you are, the people in power have to find something to divide you, and only then it's much more easier to control you and me. But if you and I are like much more united, then it's difficult for them to control, actually.
Can I ask you a small question? And you, when you were, I don't know, at school, did you study a little Sanskrit or not?
Yeah, I actually studied Sanskrit for like a couple of years, like to learn prayers and everything. Yeah, I did like study Sanskrit. So like I studied Sanskrit. I was also studying for some years Hindi as well. So these things, there are a lot of like Hindi speakers there, but Sanskrit is like you usually used in prayers in temples and still, right? Yeah, it's a mix of like in Tamil and Sanskrit still. So I think that's cool. I would never also like talking about it. Sanskrit is a super powerful language. I mean, a lot of the ancient scriptures that we have, like the Vedas, like Mahabharata, uh, Bhagavad Gita, they were all written in Sanskrit, right? These are the stories that talk about like ancient wars and cosmic these things and that thing. Oh my God! Like there is no way you can undermine that language and the power that it holds. Like in the country. Um,
No, I was wondering, and when, yes, you find it quite interesting when you were studying it. I mean, you were not studying it reluctantly. It was not, you were not feeling reluctant to study Sanskrit. No,
no.
okay. It was okay, at least.
No. There is nothing like that. If you go to a regular, there's nothing like that. Also, I think the perception of what the media or anybody in the how academic, the people in the academic world, the impression that you have from the academic world would be very different from the impression you will get from a regular Tamil household. Nobody in the Tamil household sits and talks about these things. We don't sit and talk about, oh, Tamil, oh, Sanskrit, oh, Hindi. We don't talk about these things. You know, we're just at the end of the day, common people. We love our language. And most of them are like quite, in general, like very welcoming and accepting and everything. But again, there is still a crowd. There is still like a crowd which is heavily politicized, these things. I understand the reason they want to like protect, but I think that can also, the sense of protection also can become political when it's like simply triggered and poked.
I like this idea of protection that you have introduced in the conversation. Yeah, of course, it's perfectly understandable, and I know all the pressure which was put by Hindi, and when Hindi was invented in certain way with this Mathura Braj, etc. And so I of course I understand when you have lived in Tamil Nadu, you cannot, but yes, you can see it. You can see how much the people there would prefer to speak Tamil than Hindi, etc., etc. And that's, but yes, a sense of protection that's quite interesting, I think, because in ancient time, I was just this afternoon, I was looking at the Trichy cave. I don't know if you have been to Trichy. Well,
Actually, I've not been, but it's very close, but I've not been.
or to Srirangam. Maybe you have been to Srirangam.
Srirangam, no. These are the places I want to go. It's a shame I've not been.
Next time, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's okay. But you have this Kaveri River, and in Trichy, you have a big rock which is which overlooks the river. And close to the top of this rock, you have a big cave which has been carved. And inside this cave, you have a big carving of Shiva receiving the Ganga in his locks. And this beautiful panel, which is a sculpted panel, is framed by a Sanskrit inscription. And it is said in Sanskrit that this is something like it's a wonderful hill. And this is where Shiva receives the Ganga in his locks. And the Kaveri is flowing. And the Kaveri, which is the lady of the Chola world, etc., etc. And there is a competition between Ganga and the Kaveri. And the Kaveri is assimilated to Ganga through this rock, this cave, this carving, and this Sanskrit inscription. Okay. Then at the back of this cave, you also have a very beautiful Bhakti poem in Tamil, entirely in Tamil, which is a praise of this place, a praise of this place, this rock which is haunted by Shiva, which is dedicated to Shiva, etc., etc. And there is, of course, an interplay between the place, the Kaveri, the rock, Sanskrit, and Tamil. And then I was looking at the Tamil background of the Sanskrit inscription. And I find it quite interesting because it's a Sanskrit inscription which is dated of the 6th century, let's say, the end of the 6th century. Okay, at a time when Sanskrit was introduced, in fact, in Tamil Nadu. You don't have, before this inscription, before the 6th century, you don't have any trace of Sanskrit in Tamil Nadu. You don't have any trace of, and for Prakrit, you have only loan words. You have loan words in the Tamil Brahmi inscriptions. But for, let's say, North Indian languages, Prakrit, Sanskrit, it's coming in the 6th century only in the Tamil country. And what you can see in these inscriptions, the Sanskrit and the Tamil ones, and the background, is that in fact Sanskrit is trying to be established as a very literary language, as a very refined language, as a political language, as a language for ritual, politics, etc. But it has to be established because it was not. And what was there was Tamil. And so it has to take into account the Tamil tradition. So it's not it's a very, the whole cave with the Sanskrit inscriptions, the carving, the Shiva, etc. is very beautiful. It's amazing. But it's amazing because it's trying to introduce something. And this is a North Indian tradition which is trying to be established in Tamil Nadu. So I found it quite interesting because it's something like the Tamil tradition was very strong, and Sanskrit was the newcomer, something like it was a fragile newcomer which has to be established. And this was done by a Pallava king, and of course the whole Pallava epigraphy, etc., monuments, it's full of Sanskrit. It's a very Sanskritic world, but still you have Tamil is the background, Tamilized civilization is the background, but it's not easy to see it because it's very, very Sanskritic. But I found it very interesting. It's something like I always assumed that Sanskrit was a dominant one. Sanskrit was a dominant word, including in Tamil Nadu, because I first studied Sanskrit. Sanskrit in Indology today is a dominant language. Certainly, Tamil is not a dominant language, unfortunately. But as you said, it's something like underrepresented. And it took me some years to realize that when Sanskrit was introduced in Tamil Nadu, when North Indian languages were introduced in Tamil Nadu, they were not dominant. They were fragile newcomers, which got the help of kings, of politics, of course, to be established, to become dominant. Not to become dominant, but to become part of the political and ritual landscape. And of course, Tamil was always the dominant part. Because you have to, when you see the political debates today and this South and North Indian opposition, I would say debates, for me, it's you always, when you get the first inscriptions in Tamil Nadu, you already have loan words in Prakrit. When you get the first beautiful inscriptions, you have Sanskrit inscriptions and Tamil inscriptions. But the two are always coming together. They are always intertwined. It's not, and from time to time, you see that these debates about who is the first one, who is the dominant one, were already there, but not always. And finally, I think that at least Tamil did not think that it needed to be protected. It was more Sanskrit had to be protected from time to time, or it has to be fostered. It has to be, it has to get help, something like this. And yes, but North Indian and South Indian were always, you always had these two traditions coming together in Tamil Nadu, in the South. And this is why the South is so interesting, because you have many traditions working in the same time, inspiring each other, etc., etc. While in the North, of course, it's difficult to see the influence of the South, but still, You have it. You see, you were saying something in the beginning of the interview about this Krishna stealing the butter. But for me, the most impressive thing is Krishna playing the flute. Krishna playing the flute is first done in Tamil Nadu. It comes from Tamil texts. It was first carved in the Tamil country, and it came to the north, and then it became a globalized image. But Krishna playing the flute is really a Tamil is a Tamil image, and this is in a different in the Shaiva field. You also have the same with the Chola bronzes of the dancing Shiva from Chidambaram or from Chola dynasty, etc., which has become an image of Hinduism for everybody in the West. It's very well known. Something like Shiva is playing the flute, and Krishna is playing the flute, and Shiva is dancing above the dwarf of the Apasmara dwarf.
The Nataraja, the cosmic dance, right?
Yeah, the cosmic dancer and Krishna playing the flute, these two, they come from Tamil Nadu. They have been invented in Tamil Nadu, and from this part of India, they finally they have conquered, in fact, the whole world, the north of India and the whole world now, because everybody knows them including in the West, including in France at least. In Germany, I don't know, but
Yeah.
how did you come to Germany?
How did I come to Germany for I actually first moved to France to study my master's. So I was in France I left in 2016. I left home to study and to do my master's in 2016. And then I studied there for like 2 years. And then then I came to south of Germany for an internship. And now I'm in Berlin for actually like a full-time proper job and everything. So life kind of took me here. Germany was not even a place that I intended to go. The place that I intended to go was France. Because because when in Pondicherry you have that influence of like
Romantic.
yeah, exactly. It's I spent so many years romanticizing like France, which was like great. But I don't know. I felt that because I was living in Paris, so I was living in like Paris. For me, as someone who like a simple South Indian Tamil girl, like it was too much for me. It was like I couldn't handle the pressure of living in Paris. For me, I did not have the boldness back then, or the boldness or the attitude to survive in a city like that. So I kind of, for me, I felt like really suffocated for like 2 months. And I just like decided, oh my God, I have to like move somewhere. And then I kind of like ended up in Germany, and ended up like really liking Germany, because here I kind of felt like, I can be myself. I don't have to try too hard or something. Yeah. But also, I think I was so stupid and naive and young at the time. I did not know how to like handle the pressure of living in a city like Paris. Now, if I go, I would know, because now I have the life experience, or like I have the character development to go to Paris and then to live like a nice life. But back then, like fresh from Chennai, get thrown in Paris, it was too much. Yeah, it was too much.
And Berlin, parce que Berlin is also a big city.
Berlin is a very big
city.
Yeah.
Less pressure. Okay.
Berlin is a very big city, but there is a less pressure in terms of like fitting in a group. Like you have to appear a certain way to fit in here. There is no, so yeah, it was the case in Paris, because also when I was in Paris, I was a student, right? When you are in a university, there's also a lot of pressure from your friends and other classmates and everything. But here, it's a different life, because I have my job, I make my own money. So I don't have to bend. I don't have the thing of like bending to like, will my classmates like me?
Yeah.
Will my friends like me? I don't have that thing over here.
Yeah, it's not a student life. Yeah, okay. That's also one of the reasons.
Have you been to Berlin?
Yes, of course, several times. I've not, but I did not live in Berlin. I've been just as a tourist. I love it. Yes, of course. And my daughter is the young ones. They love Berlin anyway. My daughter would like to go and study in Berlin. I don't know. Let's see.
It's a nice city, really. I think she would like quite
Certainly. But it's not easy to find a place where to study, I think. Let's see. But no, I was interested. I think it's not. I have other. I have some Indian colleagues who live in Germany, but they live in Hamburg, most of them. Some in Berlin, but less. And yeah, I was interested because, yeah, to live in Germany, I think for an Indian girl is not that obvious, not that easy.
Yeah. I mean, I like honestly, like living alone outside of your family anywhere is not easy.
Yeah.
Living in a country where you don't speak the language, like German language is like it's very hard. It's like obviously, I think as soon as you get out of your house, everywhere it's difficult. You will find something challenging. It's just that the challenge here is comparatively okay to handle the challenge in Paris. That's the only difference, but both are challenging in their own way.
Sorry to hear that for my Paris.
No, but Paris has it's beautiful. I mean, it's like it's beautiful on the eyes.
But okay, if it's hard, if it's tough.
Yeah, but it is a bit tough. But I think I learned a lot out of that experience as well. I think only when things are so rough, you that the character development happens only when things are so unmanageable, like you can't manage and you're struggling to manage. And then that is when you come out of it. I'm like, wow, now I'm a new person. I feel like a lot of things I've learned to handle in life because of that experience in Paris. I've learned to say, yeah, I've learned to say no. Like, I feel like I've learned to say no after that experience in Paris. I've learned to say, hey, this is not for me. This is not who I am. So these things you kind of develop only from a hard experience, I think.
This I cannot handle, and okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Where do you live? Do you live in Paris?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
live in Paris.
Okay. um so with whatever, like you said, I have like a couple of questions. First of all, I also like agree with you. I think back when Sanskrit and Tamil were like, during the Tamil Brahmi period, or during Sanskrit, when at the time of its like Sanskrit when it was at its peak, I think it doesn't feel like they were actually competing against each other, right? It feels like they were complementing each other. They were like taking words from each other, like borrowing from each other. I don't think the people back then showed the pettiness that we have going on like right now. And also this politics thing that we just like discussed, it's very new, Charlotte, in the sense like it's only going on for the last decade and a half or something like that. Because I'm in my like early 30s right now. I remember growing up as a kid, this was not a dialogue. You were not even talking about this thing. You had a friend who speaks some language. She had some different tradition, whatever. They're not sitting and like, oh, who is this better? Who is this older? This is a very modern discussion that is again like heavily like politicized, because we have the government who is like is living in the Hindi speaking belt. They want control across a lot of regions of India, and also Tamil Nadu in general. Economically speaking, it is performing very well. It is like what it is actually like leading. I think it's in the second or third place or something overall in India. So overall, I think from an education point of view, from from like employment point of view, overall from an infrastructure point of view, Tamil Nadu is actually like really, really like leading. So of course, if you're able to get the Tamil people behind you, like behind like the government, then it's easy to like control them as well. And that is why also the Tamil people are resisting. They're like, hey, leave us alone. We don't really want to agree with your beliefs. We don't want to agree with this. We come from a different level of traditions or beliefs and everything. We don't want to like really get put into this box. I want to ask you something. You said that Sanskrit is still, you feel like, is like the dominant language. Can you explain like why? Because I think the general idea is that, hey, Sanskrit now is only used in prayers and in temples and everything. But would you still say that it's a dominant language?
No, I think I was. It's a misunderstanding. I thought that when you are. So I will say two things. So first, when you are an Indologist, you start studying Sanskrit, certainly not Tamil, and Tamil comes second, something like this. But if you are a Tamil colleague, a Tamil researcher at the very beginning, so this is in Indology. Sanskrit, you have many more Sanskritists than you have Tamilists. So in that sense, you can say it's dominant just in terms of number. And then I was speaking about the introduction of Sanskrit in Tamil Nadu with this Pallava in the 6th century. When Sanskrit was introduced,
Where the Pallavas, you said they were actually the ones who really contributed to bringing Sanskrit to Tamil
Yes.
Nadu. Like, why? Like, weren't they from the Tamilagam area? Or how did they bring Sanskrit into Tamil Nadu?
So the Pallavas, they came from the southern part of Andhra Pradesh, where there were a dynasty ruling since the beginning of the end of the 4th century, something like this. And we know that because you get their copper plates with their inscriptions. And even at that time, it's in their inscriptions, Kanchipuram has been registered as their capital city. So maybe there was a Pallava kingdom with a small part of the northern Tamil Nadu and the southern part of the Andhra Pradesh. Okay, something like this. And then in the 6th century, these Pallavas, or little by little, their kingdom has increased. The Pallava kingdom has increased. And in the 6th century, they started to prepare bilingual inscriptions in Tamil and Sanskrit. But in the inscriptions of the Pallavas, the literary part was in Sanskrit, and what is called the business part was in Tamil. Something like the practical details were in Tamil, and the ritual, political, literary part was in Sanskrit. So, in that sense, it has been considered that Sanskrit was kind of dominant. You have several books which have been written about it. And I was just stricken by the fact that even when these Pallava inscriptions were made, and especially you get eulogies of the reigning kings, which are called prashastis. It's a specific genre, very literary genre. And you have inscriptions praising the reigning king called Mahendravarman or something else. And you don't get at that time in the 6th century and the beginning of the 7th century, you don't get the equivalent in Tamil. Then you get the equivalent in Tamil inscriptions. So it is said that the Tamil eulogies are inspired by the Sanskrit one, something like it started with Sanskrit. So of course this is not as simple as that, because you get eulogies in Tamil, in the Purananu, in the Sangam literature, and when you get epigraphical praises of kings in Tamil, they were as much inspired by Sangam literature than by the Sanskrit eulogies. But so just to say that first, usually when you are an Indologist, something like the doxa, it's not I agree with the doxa and no Tamilist would agree with this doxa, but you always have to convince your colleagues that no, Sanskrit is not the dominant thing. And so this afternoon, when I was studying this very famous inscription of Trichy, I was stricken by the fact something like, okay, it's terribly refined, it's terribly beautiful, but why so terribly beautiful? Why so terribly refined? Because it has to be, it's trying to establish something. It's trying to become something. And while Tamil did not need at that time to demonstrate that it was a refined language, a literary language, a political language, a ritual language. It did not need it. But Sanskrit did need it at that time. And that's why you get works of art where Sanskrit is dominant at that time. Just because it has to be established, something like this. That's all. And that was at that time in the 6th century. And in the Pallava realm, Sanskrit was usually presented as dominant because, yes, what is refined, what is courtly literature is in Sanskrit, etc. But you get Tamil, but later on, in the 9th century, you get literary Tamil, but later on.
Charlotte, like this is something that I just like thought about it like few months back, which is probably like, I don't know why I never like realizes or thought about it. So now when you take India, people who are non-Muslims, they're all called Hindus, right? So now, for example, like I would be called as a Hindu girl. But the thing is that if we go to like the ancient Tamilagam at the time when it was the time of Cholas and Pandyas and these people, they did not call themselves as Hindus, right? They were just calling themselves as Tamil people. They were like a Tamil civilization. They were called, they referred to themselves based on whichever dynasty was like ruling or ruling at the time, like a Pandya or the Chola or anything. But I think once, after like the Islamic invasion, and then there is also like the British colonial, all these kind of things. Then I think it became like Muslim Hindus, and everyone who were non-Muslims, they were all grouped into this one thing called as like Hindus. But if I have to, for example, just taking me for example, if I really have to dissect myself or my roots, I'm not exactly like Hindu. I'm politically Hindu, but if I'm non-politically speaking, I'm not exactly like Hindu. I'm rather like from just like the group of Tamil people, basically. Could you share some details about how the Pandya Chola, these people, when it was their reign, how did they like view what did they call themselves? Like, how did they see themselves, basically?
Something like how it is possible to think that they define themselves, that they saw themselves, because we don't have a lot of documents. Huh? So Pandyas, for instance, they were really presenting themselves as something like the champions of the Tamil language. It comes in several texts. Um, the Cholas, they were. You have different Cholas. You have the Cholas of the Sangam literature, and you have the imperial Cholas from the 9th to the 13th century. So the Cholas, they were also asserting always that they were from Tamil Nadu, that they were this dynasty of the Sangam literature. So Tamil was very important for them. Still, in their epigraphy, in their eulogies, they use Sanskrit a lot. And I don't know if I will really answer your question, but there was this something like when you are a Pandya, a Chola, let's say a Tamilian king or a Tamilian dynasty, you have several ends. You have something like your local and regional and southern need to establish yourself, to assert yourself. And for this, you have to demonstrate that you know Tamil very well and very refined Tamil, etc., and that you are part of the Tamil tradition, which is a Sangam tradition. Okay. Then something like what you have, it's something like foreign policy, something like we have ministries of foreign policies today. And the international language is Sanskrit. It is not Tamil. So when you want to address the other kings, when you want to tell the other kings that you are the best king in the world, that you are the dominant king, then you use Sanskrit.
What, even within the southern region, even within
the southern region, because for instance, you have this in Karnataka, you have eulogies in Sanskrit in Karnataka. And yes, even inside the southern region. And of course, you want to assert your legitimacy beyond the frontiers of the Dravidian world. It's something like Sanskrit is a language that you use to speak with the other kings, to legitimate that you are what is called a chakravartin, what is called a ruling monarch of the whole world.
Okay.
And I want to just to add a small point because I don't want to forget this before we end this interview about the Egyptian inscriptions. What is also very fascinating regarding what we have said till now is that the inscription in Sanskrit and in Tamil have been engraved very close to each other and in a way to something like to answer to each other, to be put together. So these people who were traveling in Egypt, it's clear that they were feeling that they were Indian. They were not differentiating between a north and a south. Maybe, of course, probably they were differentiating, but something like for them, it was in this foreign country, which was Egypt, where everybody was speaking Greek, and probably they were fluent in Greek and in several languages. they recognize the inscriptions inscribed in Indian language, and they want to be part of this world. And I find it very important, something that there was a feeling of Indianity, which I found amazing to find there, you see. So Tamil and Sanskrit inscriptions side by side without any competition.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're something like to show that they were part of the same world. So
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, likewise, I think people who really made some very significant contribution to the language or the traditions back then, I don't think they were like fighting or like arguing over like who's best. Because like anybody, like you've got to. That's why I'm saying that this is like super recent politics. These people, they probably had like made significant contributions to in their culture. I don't think they were in a position or like they were in the mindset of dragging down another language rather they were. I think I also kind of have the feeling. I mean, I can't travel back in time and prove this, but I don't. I feel like they were just like complimenting each other. I don't think they were like against each other or trying to put each other down. But one thing I wanted a little bit like on mystical questions that I have for you. So this is something I have no idea about. I'm open minded with like whatever answers that you like kind of want to give. Like because I think the people. Oh, first question: is it true that the Pandya kingdom ruled in Tamil region for like 2,000 years? Is that true?
I have no clue about it. I cannot answer you.
Okay.
I
Okay.
we can't know.
Okay. This is something that I remember like reading it once that they were like the longest ruling in the southern region or something like that. But it's fun. But so you've studied about like like Krishna, like where it was like first his name first, his story about like the butter or like the fruit where it was like first written and all these kind of things. So in your years and years of research on like religion, the topic of religion and everything, because when we talk about religion, there is Abrahamic religion like the Christianity, Islam, Judaism. But when you talk about like Hinduism or like all these gods like Krishna, Vishnu, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, it's not exactly like a religion per se, but rather it's kind of like a philosophy, like a way of life or something like that. Do you feel like even back then that is how they were perceiving it? Like the like when they were like worshiping Vishnu or Shiva, were they perceiving it as like in a form of like a respect or like it's a philosophy, something to learn from these deities, or were they more religious? How would you uh, say about it?
Different from you mean the Tamil people, the people from Tamil Nadu, or the
Generally, like overall, like in India, like because I think like the deities like Shiva, Vishnu, they were like shared, right? I mean, it was all over like in India in general. In
the
the
pan-Indian deities, yeah, the Bhakti deities. So I cannot answer, but for the little period of time and the place where I've been working past 12 years, something like this. If you see the inscriptions and the way Bhakti is manifested in the south of India, yes, I think you can sometimes really you think maybe that you perceive, maybe it's a phantasma. I mean, it's a dream, but yes, you see a kind of a relation between the people and the gods, and it's established through the grants, through the rituals, through all the gifts. The gift they give a lot to the gods. They give a lot to the gods, and it's not only a political gift. It's not only a social gift. It's what is called a bhakti gift. It's a kind of love gift. You have all kinds of motivations for gifting, of course, but still, you in Tamil Nadu at least you have they give for songs, they give for dance, they give for very physical manifestations of devotion, and also if you read the Tevaram or the Divya Prabandham, if you read the Tamil Bhakti poetry, in some of the poems, not in all, of course, not in all. In some of the poems, well, okay, maybe it's an illusion, but yes, you think that you really perceive the way these people they were perceiving their gods, and they had a very intimate relation with them. Not only, but sometimes at some moment of their lives or for some of the people, uh, it's difficult to generalize something like this. And this is only for some parts of Tamil Nadu. But yeah, I think we have this.
But they didn't have the idea of religion, right? It wasn't exactly like a religion per se, but
It's also it's depend what you call a religion. What would you call a religion, Priyanka?
I I would not say that I am religious, for example. I do pray. I do pray to Shiva. I pray to Vishnu, Krishna, Sai Baba. I pray to these deities. Like I think it brings me a sense of calm, protection. I even often, when I think about like Shiva or Vishnu or something, I always feel like I'm praying directly to the universe. It's just like this innate feeling. But I am not religious in this like so whatever I'm learning from them when I read like Bhagavad Gita or something, it's like okay, I think this way of like I can take this thing, this I don't agree with, this like I agree with, and I take it and I kind of do that. But there is no such way as like when you say that I am when you say that I am a Christian, there are certain things that you have to do. You have to go to church, you read the Bible, you go to church every Sunday. If you say that you are a Muslim, then you're following Allah, Islam, then you have to like fast, you have to go to the mosque and everything. But if you say that I'm a Hindu, what can you exactly do? There is no like demand as such, hey, go read this book. You go read this thing. I think it's for me being this person like who prays to like Shiva or something. It's like I just think good, I do good, I try not to harm another person, I try not to hurt another person, I try to act with some sort of like common sense in my life and other people's life. For me, that is it. That is the no, that is the extent of my thing. I feel a certain sense of positive energy that I can't like when I go to temples and everything. I almost like I physically feel some sort of a positive protection. I don't know if it's a placebo effect or if it's just like I just generally like feel that when I hear the chant, the mantra, in the temple, the bell sounds. There is I feel that spiritual connection. So I would not call religious. I would not like die for this. I would not like protect. I would not say tomorrow if you tell me something, hey Priyanka, everything that you have learned about Vishnu or Krishna in Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata is wrong, I'll be like, okay, tell me, like like tell me, like change my mind. I would not be, I don't know, I would not be like super difficult. How dare you tell me this? It's that's not that I'm always like open to learning. So I'm spiritual in nature. I genuinely feel a sense of connection with these universe or like the Shiva, but I'm not religious per se. I would not go and like push other people on, hey, you have to convert. There is no way you can convert. If I, again, like I'm saying, if you say, hey, tomorrow, if you say you're a Hindu, what exactly can you do? What is it can you do? Like, you're not like asked to do anything. Like you don't go, you don't have to go to the temple. You don't have to like read anything. You just, I guess, think of karma, dharma. I think that already makes you, you know,
But will you practice rituals of when, if let's say you, sorry, somebody died in the family or somebody is born, will you practice any ritual? I think it's more something like it's terms of ritual practices that you feel not necessarily obliged, but inclined to say something like this.
Yes, yes. Some of the things that which I grew up in, actually, the way that my parents taught me these things, I think it also has a lot to do with parenting as well. The way my parents taught me was that, hey, this is the section we are. We are now called Hindus, so you have to do this. It was not like that. The way that they taught me is that, hey, if you wake up in the morning and go look at the sun, it's very good for your immune system. It's so you do Surya Namaskaram, it's very good for your body, it's very good for your immune system. If you sit down and eat with your hands, it's very good for your digestion. If you like, if when you want to poop and you actually do this pelvic pose and then you go poop instead of using like the Western toilet, it's actually good for your like pelvic system and it's actually good for your digestion. So this is how they would teach me and my mom as well. She said, hey, there is like power in these mantras. These are like positive mantras. So like try to say that because words have power, right? People these days talk about affirmations and manifestations and everything. if you listen to these ancient classical Sanskrit prayers and like Tamil prayers, they are literally like manifestations. My sister sent me this one Tamil, like very ancient Tamil prayer, and she said, "Hey, listen to this thing." And I was like listening to this thing, and it says everything like protect my hair, protect my face, protect my body, protect my liver, protect my lung. These are the things. Now the fancy word is manifestation, affirmation, but these things were already like there. Like, so these, I believe like those things, those rituals in terms of like sun, the energy of the fire, the energy of the bell, the mantra, like, you know, touching the floor of the temple with your bare feet and everything, touching an elder's feet. I think that has like a lot of like some sort of like a spiritual connection as well. Touching an elder's feet who's like literally blessing another person, getting the blessing of another person. These things I like thoroughly believe, not just believe in sense, but I physically, mentally resonate with it a lot. So that is my idea of like being a Tamil girl or being a Hindu girl or like what you call it. Like,
Yeah. You said maybe if you were a Jain girl, that would be the same, and maybe some Muslim girl or Christian girls, they do the same as well. So it's difficult to say. But yeah, so for you, a religion, it's more something like a social way of living your. It's not a spiritual. It has nothing to do with spirituality, but it has to do with social performances of something.
but social performance, like where am I socially like performing? I feel like it's actually deeply spiritual. Because I think like when I pray, I'm like by myself, like in a temple or in my room or something. It's that is, I don't see any sort of like a social performance. I don't go wearing a certain type of something, like, you know, going out.
No, I don't say that you are doing it. It's because I try to answer your first question, which was about the religion of the ancient Tamil. So, I mean, to answer this question, I need to know what you think religion is.
I think religion is just blindly defending something. That's because
Okay.
now you are assigned to this.
So,
You do exactly what the scripture says, and you don't question it. It says day one do this, day two do this, day three do this. You just like do it, and you're willing to not see the, because at the end of the day, these modern religions, like the Abrahamic religions, they're still like quite recent, right? They're not that old, like they're 2005 to, you know, like almost close to like 2000 years old or something like that. I'm not trying to put it down. I'm sure there's so many like obviously there's like a lot of value in like being like a good Christian or a good Muslim or like a good, that's not my point. Please, like anybody listening, I'm not trying to undermine any of those religions, but I think like blindly like defending it and like attacking another person in the name of mine is superior than yours, or not reading between the lines like, hey, this is something written in my book. Is it wrong? Is it right? Do I have to adapt to it? Do I like, you know, because this is not mine, this doesn't sound good to me. Like that's for me, like really not questioning it and not like really understanding, okay, that's because the book is like handed over to you and your parents or your family has said, hey, this is where we belong. This is the box we belong to. And just like blindly fitting in, that for me is like religion. I also feel like a lot of things can be right now when we talk about religion, it's not that is not just only Hinduism, Christianity, or Islam, or Judaism. They are not the only religions. I feel like anything that you deeply believe in to a point of where you're blindly willing to like defend, okay, that becomes a religion. Like in my point of view, climate, I'm not saying, oh, climate change is a lie. I'm not saying that. But if you go to a point where you're like blindly defending something, climate change, gender ideology, identity politics, vaccines, these things, all these kind of things, when you are like shutting down every other argument, you're not willing to listen to what anybody else has to say about this, and you just blindly, this is my belief, this is what I'm willing to die for, that becomes a religion.
okay. So you have a very negative idea of what a religion is. But all religions are not like I'm not a religious person at all as well. So, but then to answer your question, so religion is not always as negative as this. Just to. And in the past, you had periods. Sometimes in Tamil Nadu, you have Shaivas and Vaishnavas, they were fighting. Jainas were persecuted, something like this. But mainly, people were, there, I think there was a fluidity between the religions. I mean, you can be a Jaina and giving something in a Shaiva temple, you can be a Vaishnava, and then you are going for a ritual in a goddess place. Or it was, I think it was mainly, it was freed. And this, in the whole of India anyway, we know that somebody who had an identity as a Buddhist, for instance, could go and worship Shiva sometimes. I mean, there was most of the time there was a fluidity between all these parts. But of course, you have to define yourself. You have an identity, and you have a social identity. And if your social identity is to be a Jaina or a Shaiva or whatever, and you have the caste also. So I think in the ancient world, it was not that easy. It was not as easy as it is today, than that to be an individual, choosing which rituals you'd like to practice, which one you'd like not to practice, or even to reject, was not that easy. And it's easier now in Germany or in France than it is even in today India, and it depends also of your social status.
Yeah.
And if you are a woman, if you're a man, etc., etc. If you are a child, if you are a monk, if you are an ascetic, uh, so it's difficult to give you a general answer. But you see many different behaviors, and mm, where religions, I don't know, but yeah, of course, we. The thing is that when you work on the past, many documents are about religion. You have the temples. Most of the inscriptions are linked to a temple. Many texts were religious texts. In India, in Europe, you go to a museum in Europe, you go and see churches. You go. It's in India, you have mainly, if you want to study the architecture of the past, civilian architecture, it's terribly difficult to study. You don't have remains, and for the first millennium at least. So all this, of course, you have to deal with religions. What's first, you have to define what you mean by a religion, and etc.